Alright guys, so for this video, we are going to be talking about challenging intrusive thoughts about losing control. Now I'm reading straight from the OCD workbook, 3rd edition. This is not my own original thoughts, but this is very helpful for you. So, a common theme of what if thinking involves an obsessive preoccupation with the idea of snapping or losing control and suddenly acting in a way that's alien to how you know yourself to be. People with this obsession often believe that normal emotions, such as fear, doubt, and anger, are dangerous and should be avoided at all costs. For example, Robert, a salesman with OCD, avoided all social situations for fear of getting angry and losing control in a public place. His downward arrow sequence goes as follows. What if I'm in a restaurant and scream at the waiter, calling him a jerk? I would become extremely anxious. Being anxious, I could lose control of myself. If I lose control, I could go on to call the waiter lots of other names. I'll be embarrassed in front of all the other customers. Everyone will stare at me with contempt or hatred. I'll go crazy. They'll take me away in a straitjacket. I'll be locked up in a psychiatric ward. I'll go even crazier from being locked up. I'll never escape the shame of it all. In Robert's case, what if thinking, combined with the notion that anger is dangerous, results in extreme isolation due to his avoidance of any public or social situation where anger or anxiety could possibly be triggered. So if you suffer from this sort of what if thinking, one helpful strategy is to construct an imaginal exposure using the steps outlined in Chapter 7. By repeatedly confronting the feared situation in your imagination, the imagery of danger becomes increasingly less potent. Another strategy is to divide an experiment in getting angry or losing control. For this approach, you'll need a partner to help you role-play a feared scenario. So 1. Make an audio recording of a 5-minute roleplay of a situation that typically or potentially arouses your anger, or whatever emotion you have difficulty with. It can be an ongoing situation from your life or something that typically irks you, such as when it seems that a salesperson is trying to purposefully cheat you. Taking this as an example, allow yourself to argue vigorously with the person playing the role of the salesperson. Allow the dialogue to become more and more heated, and let your language become stronger as your temper rises. You may even start yelling. Punch a pillow if you like. Really let it go. Now, step number 2 is now listen to the recording. If you think you can make it even more dramatic, try recording it again. Once you have the finished product, listen to it and observe your anxiety level as you listen. Does it go up to a SUDS level of at least 60 or 70? If it does, listen again and again until your SUDS level decreases by at least half. Number 3, if your anxiety level doesn't go up, try practicing your role play in public with a partner. You could do this in a restaurant, a park, a store. Anywhere you have a strong fear, you'd be embarrassed and lose control. Practice the role play for 5 minutes and note your SUDS level. Do the role play in different public places that evoke anxiety until you habituate to the worry and are reasonably comfortable experiencing that emotion in public. So what if your beliefs aren't changing? Sometimes the process of changing unrealistic assumptions and faulty beliefs can be quite challenging. Once the powerful cycle of obsessive fears and compulsive rituals is locked into place, it's extremely difficult to change beliefs about what is harmful and dangerous and what is not. If your beliefs seem extremely resistant to change, here are a few things you can try. One key to changing entrenched obsessional fears is to do the opposite of what your OCD beliefs direct you to do. If you can't change the beliefs directly, work extra hard to change what you actually do in the face of faulty beliefs. For example, the best way to change a faulty belief that to prevent disease, you must avoid sitting on contaminated furniture and touching contaminated objects is to do the opposite. Take the chance, face your fears, and sit on the feared furniture and touch the feared objects. This is the heart of ERP, which you learned in Chapter 6. Just do it, even though your OCD brain is sending messages of impending illness and death. If you consistently act in a manner that's opposite to what your OCD beliefs direct you to do, then entrenched beliefs will gradually change. Although it may seem scary, work on letting go of being in total control of whatever you worry about. A useful approach to letting go of an obsessional fear or worry is to shout to yourself, "I'm in charge here, and I'm not going to do this anymore," and then walk away without doing your ritual. Acknowledge that although the faulty beliefs associated with your OCD may cause you pain, you may be holding onto your faulty beliefs without realizing it. The fact is, you may be reluctant to change them. This makes sense in an OCD way. For some people with OCD, these beliefs provide a way of feeling safe and in control of a world that often seems scary and unpredictable. Ask yourself if the price you're paying for this feeling of control and safety is worth the impact it's having on your life. Consider taking medication for your OCD or changing medications. The proper medication can help to lessen the grip of intrusive thoughts significantly. When the medication is effective, changing your thoughts, rituals, and beliefs will be easier. Help for family and friends. As a family member or friend of someone with OCD, could you also be harboring some faulty beliefs about your loved one's recovery? If you're shocked that we would even ask such a question, ask yourself what you think would happen if you didn't reassure your loved one in the midst of an OCD meltdown. What do you think would happen if you didn't participate in rituals or didn't purchase certain items that your loved one demands? Could it be that your loved one is more resilient than you think? Perhaps he or she could further challenge OCD if you were to withdraw some of your support for OCD behaviors in an agreed upon way. Below, we've outlined some typical faulty beliefs of friends and family members of people with OCD, along with more realistic thoughts. Use these as a guide in challenging your own unrealistic appraisals. So here's a cognitive error: overestimating risk, harm, and danger. Oh, sorry guys. My watch went up. My bad. So the faulty belief is as follows: if I don't reassure my husband, he'll be so uncomfortable that I won't be able to stand it. A realistic response would be something like, I can best support my husband's recovery by not throwing him a rescue rope every time he gets anxious. It's the illness that I must stand up to, not my husband. Another cognitive error of overestimating risk, harm, and danger would be such as the faulty belief, I feel so guilty if my wife is uncomfortable. If something bad happens, I'll never forgive myself. A realistic response might be something like, by not giving my wife reassurance, I'm taking a stand for her growth and recovery from OCD. We got time for maybe one or two more. So a cognitive error of over-control and perfectionism looks something like this with the faulty belief, my partner should let me help her more with her exposure practices. A realistic response might be something like, it's okay if she'd rather do it herself. The overall goal is to manage OCD on her own. Another cognitive error of catastrophizing looks something like this with a faulty belief, my son will never get a decent job or stand on his own 2 feet. A more realistic response would be something like, I'm not a fortune teller. No one knows what the future may hold. Plus, negativity and cynicism won't further his progress. So, the cognitive error of black and white or all or nothing thinking. The faulty belief is ERP practice exercises should be done completely and perfectly, or he'll never get better. A more realistic response would be, no exposure practice will go perfectly. What's important is that he's trying and doing the best he can at this point in his recovery. So thank you guys for watching. This is just information, not medical advice, and not a substitute for therapy or any type of treatment. Hope you guys have a great day for entertainment purposes and education only. Bye guys.